This is the sucker of the time, lil trash blonde villain that was brought into a game where every OP character is a thick girl like Marvel Rivals with that ninja babe, but while in Marvel, if you have sweaty balls, you can win. Here, our MC has almost no chance now. One might say that this is terrible because my bro is tormented by this maid girl, by this ice princess, by this Kirito wannabe girl, who's in theory is the real MC, but when I say tormented, I mean the good one and the even better one. Yeah, bro, you know, choose your pill, hero wannabe trash loser, Chad blonde villain that gets stepped on by mommy maid, and then moves to grab. Yo, better stop here before the video is down. Now, unfortunately for bro, he can see that in the future, he will get locked in a dungeon and become the mechanic bull toy of one the girls to be emptied every day. I feel so bad for him that would offer myself to change places. I'm a hero for real. Also, his father went to war and said that when he's back in 1 year, he's better have put a baby inside the maids because they need new heirs. That's what I call running a family like a business. And with all that going on, our boy, who's kind of weak compared to the crazy girls in this world, has to survive the fury of the real MC who's absurdly op. Can he pull that off? Doesn't matter because we're here to see thick babes. Let's get it. It all starts in the castle, home of the Campbell family. The main guy starts wondering, wait a second, did Matt just die in a car crash? I mean, a car accident. Did I travel through time or something? This decoration looks kinda European, and that face in the mirror, it looks like me when I was 17 or 18. Except that doesn't make any sense because he's a lot older now. He takes another look, surprise, and yeah, he really was pretty good looking when he was younger, before turning into a broke, overweight mess. Just as he's coming to the conclusion that he's getting old, having those kinds of dreams where you reincarnate just because your life turned out miserable, he grabs a little knife and says he's gonna have to confirm it, and blood gushes out. He says it's just a small cut, though it hurts like hell, and he has to lick his fingers, saying this damn thing feels way too real. Then suddenly, the memories come rushing in. The guy he reincarnated into is named Moon Campbell. A poor guy who lost all of his titles, ended up turned into a beggar, and was abandoned by his family. His father even warned him never to set foot on their land again or he'd be killed without mercy. Apparently, he committed some terrible crime. He puts his hand over his face and says, "Damn, I thought this was just a coincidence, but it's not. Unfortunately, I transmigrated into that mentally challenged guy's body, the blonde-haired villain who wasn't even an elite or anything like that." He used to read this story for a long time. It was called The Protagonist, the strongest woman in history. And yeah, you already know what's coming just from the title. It's a cliché story. The only difference is that the main character is a woman. She's got a family that abandons her, and then she sets out into the world, develops her skills, slays monsters, and becomes a hero. At the start of the game, that blonde dude, Moon Campbell, is one of the early nuisances, sending a bunch of people to try and take her down. But she ends up leveling up like crazy. In the end, his plan gets wrecked, he gets kicked out of the mansion, exiled, and becomes a beggar. 20 chapters later, no one even remembers his name. Reincarnating is great and all, but not in the body of a character who's just a stepping stone for the protagonist to grow. Just then, someone knocks on the door. He says to come in, and the maid enters the room, asking what happened. He says it's nothing serious, and she tells him the clothes for tomorrow's banquet have already been delivered. He tells her to just leave them there. But at that moment, she notices something odd and asks if he got hurt. He says it was just an accident, nothing to worry about. But then $10 if you guess what she does next. Yup, she kneels down and helps clean the blood. She's seriously a motivated worker, definitely deserves a raise. And she even asks him to please stop hurting himself like that. The guy's blushing like crazy, thinking to himself that he's definitely going to remember this moment. Then she spins around like a top, says she's heading out, and tells him to take care of himself. As soon as she closes the door, he's sitting there, blushing like a fool, mumbling about how this world is perfect. He's covering his face and flailing side to side, totally over the moon that he's got an admirable maid. Obviously, he's a hopeless otaku. Meanwhile, the maid outside the room thinks it's weird that he said thank you. Of course, he must have been a total jerk before he reincarnated. Now our guy's wondering how someone who was born good-looking and into a noble family ended up with a cute maid but still thought it was a good idea to provoke the protagonist. The main reason he was exiled is apparently because he tried to drug the third princess or something like that. But now that he knows how that path turns out, he just needs to avoid it entirely. To make sure he keeps this cushy life, the first thing he has to do is be careful with that ceremony where all the chaos kicks off. Then it hits him. The maid with the thick thighs already brought the outfit for the banquet and mentioned it's happening tomorrow. At that point, the guy's rolling around in bed, calling out to the system, the goddess, grandpa, the monk, anyone who can give him a cheat or some kind of power-up. Problem is, if the banquet's already tomorrow, that means he's already done a lot of terrible stuff to the protagonist. He just hopes she doesn't go overboard, like stomping on his face or something. But if she does, hopefully she's wearing black tights and takes her time. Clearly, the guy's got, well, refined taste. But now he's made up his mind. Tomorrow, as soon as he sees her, he's going to run straight toward her, drop to his knees 3 times, and beg for forgiveness. Suddenly, something smacks him on the head and he turns, yelling to know who the hell did that. That's when he sees a little book on the bed. He immediately wonders if the cheat has arrived. He grabs it and says finally, God hadn't given up on him. He wasn't destined to be a loser forever. Now was the time to gain infinite knowledge and change his fate with his own hands. But when he opens the book, there's absolutely nothing inside. He starts wondering, does this thing need some kind of special activation? Stories usually take place in Europe. What's the deal with that? Right then, the book attacks by making his head bleed, and a drop of blood falls onto the page. A dark aura rises, and he starts wondering what's going on. His vision begins to blur, and suddenly he finds himself with his hands and feet restrained. His neck too. He's all beaten up. Slowly, he opens his eyes and wonders where he is when this creepy girl shows up saying he slept for quite a while. He mentions that his body hurts, but she just says pain is inevitable when learning a lesson. He has no idea how sad she really is. She didn't want him to end up like this, but he's been acting cruel and selfish. He should be bringing pain to others instead of showing tolerance and making everyone hate him. That was the only way he belonged solely to her. But recently, his heart started to change, and that just wasn't going to work. Still, no matter how long it took, she was going to purify him of the love she had, and then they'd be together forever. Then, bam, a barrage of stabs, and he wakes up back in his room. Looks like the protagonist might actually like him better as a villain, but if he goes down that path, his life's going to turn into a complete mess. And if he doesn't, it's already a mess. So what's the guy supposed to do? He starts wondering if that was a dream from the past or maybe a glimpse of the future. After all, that whole vision started when his blood touched the book. Maybe it was a kind of future warning triggered by the wrong choice. When he looks at the book again, it says, "Do not alter fate." He gets it right away. If he went through that whole plan of kneeling 3 times and begging for forgiveness, that would have led to that outcome. Considering how he was tied up and being tortured in that vision, suddenly getting kicked out of the family and becoming a beggar doesn't seem all that bad anymore. Now he's fired up. He's a modern, intelligent guy, and he can use everything he knows to change not only his own fate, but the fate of the entire country. Besides, being an aristocrat isn't even that great. They're all stuck in this tiny little land. He's gonna take control of his destiny with his own 2 hands and stop relying on any of that. That said, there he is, already sitting down, eating some delicious meat, saying to himself how amazing the life of privilege really is, and that losing all this would truly suck. The one sitting beside him is Noyce Campbell, his mother, who honestly looks like she's 18, a Dan woman, and she tells him he looks really happy today. His father, Lon, comments that he's probably just excited about the ceremony tomorrow, since it'll likely be one of the most important moments of his life. He just goes along with it and says, yeah, trying not to raise suspicion. Meanwhile, his mom says she can't let him go to that banquet. Otherwise, all the noble girls will be falling all over him. Lon replies that's not even possible since he has Princess Celia, and any girl who tries something is sure to make her jealous. His mom, acting all cute, says she doesn't like this Celia girl. She wasn't cute at all and didn't deserve her son. Now our boy is just sitting there confused, wondering why his parents have so much faith in him when he was a total jerk. And who the heck is this Celia? That's when it hits him. She's the 3rd princess, the one he tried to drug, which makes her one of the people who'll bring disaster into his life. In the original story, everyone liked her, but here, classic tsundere. Cold on the outside, warm on the inside. Got it. Moon's feeling down, realizing his parents actually seem like good people. He really was kicked out because he acted like a total bastard, and his dad just didn't want to have a rotten son. But that only motivates him more to change his fate. Even if it's risky, he doesn't want to drag his whole family down with him. The real reason his family ends up ruined is that people believe his father ordered him to kill the princess as a form of betrayal. So what he probably needs to do is take the blame himself and make sure no one else gets involved. Problem is, the ceremony's already tomorrow, and there's no time left to be changing too much. What he finds strange is that if the event is so close, why doesn't he know anything about the drug that's supposed to be used? Is someone going to hand it to him? What's actually going to happen? While he's trying to figure all this out, a maid shows up and he accidentally bumps into her. She falls in a weird way, saying he spilled the madam's black tea. When he goes to ask if she's okay, of course, she flinches, thinking she's about to get chewed out. She sees the tea spilled on him and immediately rushes to clean it, but the moment she notices the mess, she's already convinced her life is over. She's going to get fired and probably be eating dog food on the street by tomorrow. The protagonist realizes that his reputation really does precede him, so he tells her not to worry that he's not going to punish her. What's this? The guy's smooth with it too, pulls her into a hug and tells her to relax. She's all confused, trying to figure out what the young master's doing. Honestly, I'm wondering the same thing. What's with those hands? Then Anne shows up and calls out to him. He asks for the blonde's name, and she says it's Noel. He tells Anne to take care of her, but Anne says she and Noel still need to focus on getting things ready for tomorrow. They can't be slacking off now. He just tells her to hire more people to help. I mean, come on. How does a mansion this massive not have enough staff? Anne just bows and says, all right then. And our smooth talker, as always, buys himself some time as he walks off. Noel comments that it's strange the young master never let anyone help him before because he always said people were dirty, so it's weird for him to suggest that now. Anne adds that she's noticed something strange too. Maybe it would be best to move the plan forward before things spiral out of control. Back in the guy's room, he's searching through all the boxes. A poison that could take down the third princess has to be some kind of high-level, insanely expensive hallucinogenic potion. That's when he finds a black market card. Clearly, it must have been used to buy whatever it was she ended up drinking. The scene shifts to the chamber's commercial district. It's later at night, and the protagonist tells the others to wait there while he goes off to buy a few things. He moves through the area mostly unnoticed, trying to remember the route from the story. Eventually, he reaches a door and says, "Sewer rats." He shows his credential, and the guy welcomes him as a guest and tells him to come in. This is the Leopold Black Market. Potions, ingredients, magical creatures, even synthetic ones. And of course, a classic setup, slaves. One of the protagonist's allies was actually purchased from this place. That part's secondary though, because right now he's got bigger problems. He enters one of the rooms and is greeted by someone wearing a cat mask, who immediately asks what he's looking for. They've got every type of potion. He says he wants something that's colorless, odorless, works especially well on mages, and knocks them out for hours. He's probably going to buy it, use it, but won't actually do anything to the girl. Now I'm confused too. He's trying to follow the story, but I honestly don't know what he's planning anymore. The person in the cat mask says he must be looking to have a real fun time. If he wants, she can even recommend a few slaves. He says he's leaving, but she stops him, saying to wait. She'll get the potion. Moon says there's no way to tell if this is a man or a woman, and that's fair. Whoever drew this character sure made it tough. It's scary to even guess, so let's keep it neutral. The human being grabs a potion while our protagonist is thinking about how incredible that body is. Most likely, it's a stunning woman with a powerful figure running this whole underworld operation. At that moment, the door opens again and someone else walks in. Judging by the black tights, you already know what time it is. Does our boy have an eye for detail like that too? The person says they're there to buy an extremely strong drug that targets mages and leaves no trace behind. The seller is confused. This is a potion she rarely sells, and now suddenly everyone's asking for it. Moon's taken aback. He didn't think women had that kind of taste too. He feels bad for whoever's about to go through that whole ordeal, but there's nothing he can do to help. Then the woman tosses 2 vials onto the table and says that's the one everyone's been looking for. Even though the liquid inside was bright in color, mixing it with wine would make it totally unnoticeable. Just a few drops weren't enough to knock out an elephant for 2 to 3 hours. He's stunned by how strong it is. The masked girl says that if he doesn't believe it, he can try it himself. He'll just have to sleep on the floor for 3 hours and still pay full price. The only catch is the cost, 130,000 amelias, the local currency. The masked woman standing nearby, though, says she doesn't have amelias but has another way to pay. She shows a letter, and the seller says it's hard to accept something with that kind of value as payment. She reads through it and asks if what's written is really true. The mysterious figure says the seller can use her own skills to verify it. Mysterious or not, let's be real. It's probably Anne. Who else would it be? The seller says, all right, the potion is hers. The masked woman grabs it, thanks her, and starts heading out. Meanwhile, Moon just says to charge it to his card. The seller hands over a bonus potion and says if he combines it with the other one, the experience will be way better. He thanks her, tucks it into his bag, and asks about the info the other woman gave her. But the seller, clearly not too concerned with honesty, says they're old friends. And if he wants the information for a fair price, it'll cost him 900,000 amelias. He gives her a look and turns away, saying he's not interested. That scam artist was trying to charge him 7 times the price right to his face. No way he's falling for that. He's from the modern world. He already knows a trap when he sees one. As soon as the door closes, the seller says she hopes to see him again soon. She then takes off her mask, and of course, it was a woman. Now she knows exactly what's about to go down at the mansion, and she's wondering who she's going to sell all that info to. Obviously, the most interesting move would be to sell it to both sides and stir up total chaos. Could she be the protagonist? She definitely has that kind of look. The next night, over at the Campbell Palace, it's full of clueless nobles wandering around, and there's our guy right in the middle of it. A mustachioed gentleman shows up with his 3rd daughter, saying it would be wonderful if she got to meet young Mr. Campbell. She glances at our boy and starts trembling, then dashes off, dress fluttering, yelling that her mother was calling her. Honestly, that reaction looked more like fear than anything else. The father apologizes, saying she's a bit scared, and Mood just says it's okay. That's when he starts noticing none of the girls seem happy to see him. Clearly, his reputation has taken its toll. Still, his father, Lon, places a hand on his shoulder and says he's impressed with how the boy's been behaving. He's really stepping up, and tonight, he'll stop being a boy and become the man of the Campbell family. Moon thanks him and says he'll do his best. Suddenly, someone at the entrance calls for silence. The 3rd in line to the throne of the Leopold Empire is about to arrive. Blessed with the purity of snow, known as the Ice Goddess, the 3rd princess, Celia, who looks suspiciously like Payman from Genshin Impact. Lon says he's going to go mingle with the rest of the guests and asks Moon to take care of her. Moon goes right in, calling out to the princess, saying it's been a while. He compliments her appearance, and she even has the little sparkles in her hair like Payman. My god, the girl's got real presence. She thanks him for the compliment. He's acting all sweet and gentle, and she's starting to think something feels off. Then he says she must be tired from the trip and suggests she go rest for a bit. As she walks past, all the nobles bow to her, and she's over there thinking, what's up with this guy today? He's being way too polite. At that moment, it seems like Campbell is overhearing people talking about some illegitimate daughter who apparently had a duel with her husband. I'm kind of confused too. Seems like folks don't like her because she's illegitimate, got divorced, and now wants to qualify as an heir. The rest of the party tells them to stop saying stuff like that. It's crazy talk. Ah, of course, right? Who's arriving now? The protagonist, the main character of this world. Ariel Boogerd, the one with black hair on the left. Honestly, she's pretty basic, you know? But it makes sense. If you think about it, protagonists are usually kind of standard, black hair, plain face. And there she is, acting all normal, greeting Mr. Moon. He's all awkward and responds that he's doing great and welcomes her. But then, out of nowhere, this big guy steps in and asks how she can speak like that to the young master. She was being a bit casual, and our boy tells the guy to shut it, saying it's fine. She can talk however she wants. He's already been polite enough. At that point, she practically has a mini meltdown. She's wondering why this guy who used to treat her like some terrible illegitimate daughter now suddenly knows how to pronounce her name. Her friend is watching Ariel all confused until someone reaches out a hand and calls for Miss Leah. Another one startled, because Campbell knows her full name, Miss Leah Angel. He reaches out to take her hand, but Ariel slaps it away and tells him to knock it off with the scheming. She grabs him and tells him to listen. She's here because of his father, so he better not try anything shady. If he even thinks about doing something awful to her or Leah, she'll make sure he never walks out of there alive. With that, she walks away. I already like her. She's putting on the righteous hero act, but we both know she wants him to cause trouble. Moon's thinking that, just like he expected, dealing with the protagonist is going to be rough, but he says he doesn't really care. Once the night ends, she'll go her way and Hope go his, and they'll never see each other again. Not long after he gives his speech, apparently it's his birthday. Who knew? Looks like he turned 18. Everyone claps and calls him amazing. The guy almost has another episode, but now it's time to get down to business. He looks around and spots the payment lookalike chilling by the mirror. He walks up, introduces himself, and apologizes, saying he hopes he's not being rude. He asks for the honor of a dance. Oh my god, does he think he's royalty now? She accepts, of course. That girl, though, she's rocking some serious firepower with that outfit. Whatever accessories she's wearing look like they're practically bursting out of her. Meanwhile, the nobles are all stiff and awkward, glancing around, and the protagonist is off to the side eating cake while watching him dance with the third princess. She compliments his steps, and he says he's still a beginner. She knows how much he's changed and says now he's finally acting like a noble. What she finds odd is how his dance invitation earlier went. Warrior, I shall grant you the mercy of a dance. Be grateful. He awkwardly tells her to forget that, says to leave it in the past. The music plays. Let's go, people. We're deep in the plot now. They're dancing, she's praising him, the usual stuff, and then, what's this? He slides in close behind Payman. Is he calling for backup, adventurer style? That's when she says they need to have a private conversation. She already knows this marriage is just political arranged because of their families. He replies that if she wants to cancel it, they can work together to make that happen. She pulls back slightly and says they'll talk more about that later. Then she asks, how about they head to his room right now? Man, he's caught off guard, but it's too late, she's already pulling him away. Off to the side, there are two mischievous maids watching everything unfold. They're whispering about how that girl went off with that mentally challenged master. You know what word they're thinking. They say they've got to act fast because that's Lionheart territory now. Back in the room, he offers her a drink. She politely declines, saying she can't have even a single drop. Now Moon's in real trouble because he has no idea how the original protagonist actually managed to win this girl over. On top of that, he still needs to give her the potion, but if she's not drinking anything, he has no clue how he's supposed to pull this off. He asks what she likes to drink, and she says coffee, but then she quickly changes and offers to have black tea instead. Turns out black tea or wine are the only options available in that place. She looks a bit puzzled, but he waves her off, saying he'll go fetch it. Meanwhile, she's sitting there kind of confused. He seems so enthusiastic about making that tea. Obviously, he's back there slipping the potion in. Honestly, I thought it was the sleeping potion, but out of nowhere he says this one drop makes someone fall in love. On top of that, there's another vial he decides not to use. He's not so sure about its effects. Just then, she calls for him, which startles him, and he quickly turns around saying it's almost ready. But oh boy, in that quick spin, some of the potion spills all over the place. And the other vial. Turns out it was an aphrodisiac. He's relieved that none of the potions leave behind a magical trace. That is, until he looks down and realizes a good chunk of the potion hit the floor. His original plan was to sell a little of it to make some cash. But now, that's out the window. As he brings the tea over, we see someone peeking through the window. Payman, well, the third princess, comments that the Campbell family's black tea is strangely red and shiny. He says it's an extremely rare herb from the east, a real delicacy. She goes along with it and tells him to drink it first. Our boy goes, "What, Payman? Don't trust me?" Moon Campbell, the honest young noble, but she just replies that those who serve should always taste the drink first. That's basic noble etiquette. When he lifts the cup to take a sip, though, she snatches it right out of his hand and says his looks better. They should switch. Oh, One little sip later and she's already looking woozy. I thought it was going to be aphrodisiac, but nope, she wobbles, drops the cup, and passes out right onto the sofa. Moon's thinking it was a smart move to make sure both cups were dosed. According to the original story, the protagonist is supposed to burst into the room and try to kill him any second now. He needs to look suspicious, so he lowers her skirt a bit, unbuttons part of her outfit, takes his shirt off, and says it looks perfect. Anyone walking in would assume exactly what he wants them to. Looks like he's really aiming to be condemned this time. The only problem is, nothing happens. Time passes. Half an hour goes by and still no one shows up. That's strange because in the original story, she storms in to deal with the situation immediately. So what changed? In the story, the protagonist is walking through the halls, someone bumps into her, spills something on her dress, and that's how she ends up walking in on this mess. That's when he remembers. Maybe the one who spilled the tea was Noel. But earlier, he told Anne to let Noel rest, which must have thrown the entire chain of events off. Oh, look who's opening her eyes while he's still locked into his master plan. The girl's getting up. Turns out the aphrodisiac must have landed in the cup she snatched from him. Now he's standing there, confused, wondering why the room suddenly feels cold. Then bam, a hand grabs his face, a blast of freezing magic slams him to the floor. He begs Payman to calm down, saying he can explain. But she shuts that down, saying there's no need for explanations, let's just say that. That's when he realizes something's not right with this girl. He says he's going to get a doctor. Too late, his wrists are already pinned. She murmurs that her body feels cold and his feels warm. He begs her to calm down, but nope, she dives in with a kiss. The guy's praying that Ariel shows up to save him because if not, this little act is about to become all too real. Speaking of the tough one, there she is, walking through the halls, annoyed that her dress is stained. Then she hears some strange sounds. That's when Anne shows up and tells her this area is restricted. Ariel finds it odd, and Anne quickly offers to clean her dress, since that's the issue. She casts a spell, the outfit looks spotless, and Ariel's pretty impressed that even the maids around here know magic. That's when one of the maids casually mentions something about a pachichi cake, saying it'll be served at the party, and right away the protagonist lights up with joy, thanking her all cheerfully. Anne gives a little smile, but then turns around with that classic evil look on her face. Of course, Ariel's not that dumb. Or wait, maybe she is. She senses something off, like the smell of blood in the air, but then brushes it off, saying she's in the Duke's mansion and isn't getting involved. Besides, she's confident that Payman can handle that spoiled brat on her own. Nothing beats cake, so she's not worried about any of it. Nearby, those same shady maids are wondering if Ariel was the target. The one with gray hair says no. She was the target of a guy named Number 9, but she managed to kill him, even though it was a higher rank. The darker-haired maid tells her to hurry up, warning that if Campbell shows up, the mission could fail. But her partner says not to worry. She already checked the situation, and the action was in full swing. Meanwhile, our boy is a total wreck, scratched up, exhausted. What the hell happened? Wait, nothing actually happened. He was just struggling to defend himself. And now Payman wakes up, puts a sword to his face, and demands his final words. He tries to calm her down, but she just says he's going to the afterlife without saying a thing. He starts to panic. He's not even sure if he'll get reincarnated again. So he blurts out that his intentions came from real love. He's there, glowing with emotion, hoping the gods grant him a second chance, only to almost get his neck sliced open. She coldly says he really is disgusting. He apologizes and asks her to chill, saying they didn't even go all the way. But she snaps back that he's filthy for even calling those sincere actions. If he had actually tried to win her over with real effort, maybe she would have accepted the marriage. But instead, he went the sleazy route, drugs and trickery. He tries to explain that he never meant to insult her. She cuts him off and orders him to get on his knees. Then suddenly, something on the other side of the door catches her attention. She grabs him by the neck and forces him to command everyone outside to leave. She throws him to the floor and tells him to get dressed and deal with whoever's at the door, because he's about to die anyway. The poor guy's stuck between three awful options: get killed by Celia, be hanged by the king, or end up trapped in some strange dungeon by a mysterious stranger. Wait, was that the protagonist? No, it looked like some other lunatic. Meanwhile, the other girl is casually putting on her tights, saying he'll be dead any minute now. Moon opens the door to see who it is and jumps. It's that same maid, saying they spent some time together and she brought food. He tells her to set it down and thanks her. But then he realizes he's never seen her before. So who is she? She says she was hired to help with the banquet, which she finds strange considering no maids or new staff were supposed to be brought in. She agrees and then suddenly dashes forward, knocking him down. In that moment, he realizes her real target is Payman. She leaps in with 2 knives. Boom, an explosion, and when he looks up, at least the Ice Queen managed to defend herself. Payman demands to know if her idiot brother sent this assassin. The maid replies that unfortunately the details are confidential. In another room, we see golden orbs floating and whispering that the princess will be killed tonight at the Campbell estate, and that will be the end of someone. Not sure who this white-haired girl is, but she seems to know what's going on. Back in the room after that explosion, the maid backs off, admitting that Payman's magic is way more dense than expected. But her expression changes when she hears the incantation, because now Payman's charging in with an ice spear and almost skewers her through the skull. While the two go at it in a brutal clash, our guy is thinking, when gods fight, mortals suffer. There's literally nothing he can do. He tries to open the door again, but it's sealed shut. They're still going at it hard. He hides behind something, realizing that damn maid must have cast some kind of barrier spell to keep anyone else from getting in. And then he notices something, the change in plans to bring in outside staff that was made just yesterday. The only way a plan could have been prepared for this in advance is if someone's been leaking information. He nearly gets hit by an attack, and all he can do now is pray that Payman wins. But then, looking over at her, still standing there all fierce, even beaten up and gripping that spear, he starts wondering if that's really a good thing. She might just kill him too. Honestly, maybe it wouldn't be so bad if she died here. No one would ever find out. That's when the maid says Payman really is a genius, and Payman responds that she can already feel someone using gravitational magic to mess with her footwork, meaning there's someone else involved. She commands the maid say who it is, or else both of them are dying here. The maid just says that, as the rumors claimed, Payman truly is a genius. Payman snaps and tells her to shut up and speak. Who's behind this if she wants a chance at being spared? But the maid says she's not here to kill anyone, just to buy time. Suddenly, the whole room starts shaking. That's when the gray-haired maid says the chamber is now fully sealed. The other one reaches into her pocket and pulls out a vial, declaring that she offers the lives of 100 children as a sacrifice to the Lord of the Melted World. Payman instantly recognizes it as the power of a dark god, but the maid just smiles and asks that he come down and suppress this world. A red energy floods the room, slams Payman against the wall, and she knows if those rats show up now, she doesn't stand a chance. The maid confirms it. They're rats, sure, but the real target tonight is the princess. She goes in for another strike, but Payman grabs the dagger from our protagonist and blocks the attack. The maid is shocked. This girl, bloodied, her tights shredded, beaten, exhausted, but she avoided the vital points. Still, it didn't matter. She had no blood magic left. One brutal kick to the ribs sends her crashing into the floor, but Payman's built different. She gets back up. The assassin says she'll make her death a painless one and lunges for the finishing blow. Blood sprays, but guess what? Our boy jumped in front and tanked it. He literally took the hit head on. No blocking, no deflection, just pure courage. Guys, remember that moment when our protagonist got stuck at the table? I'm pretty sure it was Anne behind all this. I don't know how I didn't connect the dots. 1 + 1 is 2. It was her. The damn girl's even on the story cover. Anyway, back to it. Anne's calling his name, and Payman wants to know why. He's on the floor, spitting blood, and suddenly remembers when the other maid opened the door earlier and told him he could leave. He considered running, but realized he couldn't. So he calls out to Anne and asks what she thinks she's doing. Anne just tells the useless fool to stop getting in the way. But Payman walks past him and slashes her neck deep. The girl drops to her knees, and the ice princess just declares that it's over. Now our boy is lying on the floor, barely clinging to life. Payman kneels beside him, realizing that if he jumped in to protect her, then these weren't assassins he hired. And what really throws her off is that he protected her without thinking, because if she had died, no one would have ever known what he did. But he says none of that matters anymore. Just like she said, he chose to act like a true man. Damn, that one hurt. But of course, this is Payman we're talking about. She coldly says that based on his pulse, he's got enough strength to say maybe 3 more sentences, so he better make them count. She'll pass his final message along to the Duke. He reaches up, touches her face, and says, truthfully, that he's sorry. In the end, he really did have feelings for her. Then his arm hits the floor. Man, he went out like a legend. We know he's not actually gonna die, but if he did, it would have been epic. Still, Payman isn't having it. She says that bastard doesn't get to die after apologizing like that, not after everything he did. She calls his name and tells him she's not accepting any of that curse apology. He's going to live and pay for every single thing. In the middle of the void, there was Moon floating, feeling dizzy and flushed with heat. Unfortunately, even though he tried to make good choices, death was inevitable. At least this was better than following the game's storyline. This way, he got to decide how his life ended. But then, a strange black energy appears beside him and a panel forms, showing a breakdown of progress in arrogance, envy, greed, shamelessness, and laziness. Looks like this is about the 7 deadly sins. He's at minus 90% in gluttony, 99% in envy, and 50% in arrogance. A few pages in the book flip over and the thing tells him to keep trying for now. He asks why the damn book didn't show up before he died. Then he hears a meow coming from it, and the scene shifts to the sewers. Ashes drift through the underground and someone is murmuring that Campbell wasn't the real target. But suddenly, a voice asks what she thinks she did to his son. Oh boy, the father shows up, radiating pure Lionheart aura. The assassin instantly starts shaking, and the dad calmly says he wasn't expecting visitors in his house. She wasn't invited, so what was she doing there? And she better speak now. What did she do to his son? Man, the guy is usually nice, but right now, he's a beast. Thinking back, our protagonist must have been happy he managed to at least grind some aura Sung Jinwoo style before dying. Or maybe not, because now we're back in the bedroom and Anne is sitting right next to him. That same Anne who we now know is dangerous. He wakes up and she's right there, asking if the young master is feeling any better. She asks if he needs a doctor, and as he tries to get up, saying he wants to go to the bathroom, the pain in his chest hits hard and he falls right into the soft sheets. He apologizes, saying his legs feel strangely weak, but now he needs to be careful. He can afford to be kind with her. She's absolutely not to be trusted. She tells him that his fiancée asked her to take care of him, so he should know she'll be staying close for the time being. Then she says she's going to help him bathe and immediately starts going for his clothes. He quickly asks her to calm down, saying that just now he started feeling better. She says fine, she'll let him be independent, but still picks him up and takes him to the bathroom. He tells her to get out, that he has stuff to take care of, and a little later we're back in the room. Soon after, she tells him he slept for 3 whole days, and it was Princess Payment herself who asked her to look after him. He barely survived, lost a huge amount of blood, and went without oxygen for too long. He got lucky that Payment managed to use some magic to keep him alive. Hearing this, he realizes she probably didn't say anything about the potion incident. But then Anne says the princess did mention something important. What she actually reveals, though, is that they uncovered the whole assassination plot. His father captured one of the attackers and tortured the truth out of them. The problem now is they still have to kind of apologize to the king. His daughter was put in danger inside their estate. But the weirdest thing is that he didn't receive any punishment at all. Apparently, Princess Payment said something to the king, something that led to him being forgiven. Man, I just summed up like 15 giant dialogue bubbles. This story really gets carried away sometimes. Our guy collapses back onto the bed, finally feeling relieved. In the end, things didn't go that badly. But Anne immediately leans in close, asking why he looks so tense. What happened? Did something happen between him and the princess in that room? Remembering how she said she wanted something warm, he quickly denies it, saying there's no way he'd do something that bold. He'd be sliced to bits. Anne laughs and tells him to go ahead and drink the medicine while it's still warm. But as soon as he takes a sip, he gags. It tastes horrible. He asks what the heck that stuff is. She explains it's a tonic to help him recover and rebuild his blood supply. And then we cut to 3 maids standing outside the door, whispering about how whenever he eats something sour, he usually whips everyone. But today, he's acting really strange. They start wondering if they should go report this to the madam, but he just tells the 3 of them to stay put and not say anything. It was just some regular medicine. Then he shoves the whole thing on the spot. The maids close the door, a little spooked, while he sits there looking confused, until he suddenly throws it all up. Man, it looked like he vomited straight crude oil. And the worst part, he's gonna have to drink that thing 2 more times if he wants to fully recover. Anne casually mentions that if he wants, she can make him some pancakes and even a little tea. She hands him a slice of cake and he thanks her, saying she's way too nice. Says she even deserves a raise. She lifts her skirt ever so slightly and says she appreciates the compliment, but she's off to finish the rest of her tasks. On her way out, she tells him to check the nightstand. There's a letter for him. But then he suddenly calls out to her, asking her to wait a second. During their earlier conversation, she mentioned that he'd already taken that sour medicine 4 times. So how's that possible if the moment it touches his mouth, he throws up? She answers calmly. She puts sugar in her own mouth and passed it to him. He relaxes for half a second, until the image finally clicks in his head, and he processes what just happened. Now he's screaming into his pillow, but truthfully, he's lying there all cozy on the bed, thinking that if something like that really happened with this big sis, life might not be so bad. But then he suddenly remembers he also kissed Payment. That's when he goes to grab the letter, and it says she now considers him half a man. He sighs in relief. At least the crime situation was avoided. A little while later, his mom's all emotional, relieved that he made it out alive despite how dangerous everything got. He downplays it, saying it was nothing serious, but she tells him to go look in the mirror. There's a crater in his chest. He shrugs it off, saying it's just a scratch. As long as he survived, he's fine. His dad agrees, saying a scar like that is more like a medal. It's thanks to him saving the princess that they were able to avoid the disaster this could have turned into. Now that I think about it, there's not a single normal maid in this entire world. Even the one standing next to him now looks like some towering warrior. Moon says he wants to know everything that happened. His dad explains that the 3 assassins were captured. It took a lot of effort to get them to talk, but eventually they got some info. Turns out they weren't trained death warriors or professional killers. They were followers of someone called the Withering King. Moon's confused. He doesn't remember that name ever coming up in the original story. His dad explains that he's some kind of ancient dark god responsible for countless horrors. And if the price is high enough, his followers will take on any job, even kill their own parents. But he tells his son not to worry. He's already given the order for those people to be wiped out completely. The protagonist is stunned, and his mom reminds him that his father earned his current position through military merit. Bold as always, our boy says he's proud to be his son. It's well-deserved. What he really wants to know now is whether they figured out who's truly behind all this. His father, however, says no. All the captured hunters were bound by a strange curse. The moment they even tried to say the person's name, they burst into flames and died instantly. The black market was completely wiped out, but no real evidence was found. Moon finds it interesting that his dad destroyed the black market, since that also happened in the original book. In the story, they killed his favorite. Wait, favorite for what? Furious, the father sent the royal knights, and they burned the whole city to the ground. That massacre lasted 3 months, and even the sewers ran red. At least this time it ended much more quickly. On the other hand, this was a big event for Ariel in the story. It was a major growth arc for her. Classic protagonist moment. She'd fight off tons of enemies and her aura would evolve significantly. But now that development won't happen, and all of it changed just because he gave the maid 2 days off. Later that night, it seems like everyone in the house just tells him to get some rest. But he doesn't have time to rest because the story just keeps going off the rails. And the worst part is, the more things change, the less he can rely on what should technically happen based on the original book. So he's put together a pretty complex plan. Survive, prevent that awful ending where he's tied to a table and getting violated, get stronger, and above all, stop trusting the book. He sits there thinking it through, then admits, nah, that doesn't really make sense. He needs to be a lot more cautious. The truth is, he still doesn't know exactly who that person was from his vision. It didn't seem like Ariel, and it wasn't Celia either. So who the hell was it? He drops onto the bed, realizing there's no point overthinking it. For now, the priority should be getting stronger. As the son of a duke, he has plenty of resources to build power. The only problem is that all of it's just too conventional. And to make things worse, the original owner of the body spent an entire year in a prestigious academy and came out of it with nothing but a trash-tier light spell. Still, he is the son of that powerful guy, so he's got to have at least some kind of talent, right? No way he's that weak. But even so, he knows he'll never reach the same level as the protagonist's crew. In this world, she's known as one of the chosen by the gods, completely out of reach for any normal person. Pam is a great example. She received divine authority from a cold goddess, and ever since, she's just been growing non-stop. And that kind of divine power isn't something you can overcome with sheer effort alone. And then there's Ariel, who ends up being blessed by insanely beautiful elemental spirits, not just one, but more than 10. What a miserable life. What's really miserable, though, is his situation. No matter how hard he trains, there's no way he can surpass someone like her. But that doesn't mean he's just going to sit still either. At the very least, he needs to be strong enough to defend himself, especially if Ariel ever decides to come after him. On the bright side, it seems like he might be able to unlock new talents. With a snap of his fingers, the black book appears, but smacks him right in the crotch. He yells at the damn thing to stop showing up and hitting him every time. Then he hears this strange whistling sound, and the book opens up and starts flipping pages. Now it's retelling everything that's happened over the past few days, and he's annoyed because the thing is way too detailed. The way it's written, it makes him sound like some shady creep trying to do something awful to that poor girl. That's when he notices something odd. One of the words in the text, assassin, is glowing red. Suddenly, a strange energy surrounds him, and he yells at the book to give a warning next time. Now he finds himself in a new room. He looks around and quickly realizes it's not the same dungeon from before. Maybe it's another space inside the book, but before he can really figure anything out, someone approaches from behind. He turns around, and it's her again. That same girl who already once hit him in the neck. Boom, no time to react. Lights out. He wakes up in bed again. The poor guy didn't even get a second to understand what just happened, dropped in one hit. The book stirs again, and when he looks, it shows that his dagger combat skill is now at 1% and his shadow step is at 0.5%. Finally, he's discovered the actual combat abilities he has in this messed up world, and he's fired up, saying he's sure this hack of his is going to be seriously overpowered. Later that night, he's lying in bed, mumbling about how he barely survived. He lasted, apparently, just 3 seconds in there. He decides to check if his proficiency went up, and yeah, he gained 1% in both. Now he understands his skills really are broken. Any ability, maybe from enemies he defeats, gets recorded in the book and he can learn it. Or maybe it's just skills he sees. Not sure. If it were based on sight, he should have already picked up that ice ability from the girl. But maybe not, since that one came from a goddess. What he does know is that he's thinking of some massive skill right now, and it's a strong one. He's all excited, muttering that it's only a matter of time before that power, and those dagger abilities are all his. He doesn't exactly know how to gain proficiency fast, but he's about to find out. The book smacks him right in the face, and then boom, he takes a kick to the head, gets slashed across the chest, and ends up shredded. Meanwhile, outside his room, Anne knocks on the door and calls for him. When she walks in, she sees him under the covers and looks a bit confused. Seeing that, she chuckles and says it's funny. He still sleeps the same way he did when he was a kid. Such a cute little boy. She uses a heat-preserving spell and says she won't wake him up just yet. That Anne, I'm just waiting for the plot twist where she turns into a total demon, because there's no way that sweet smile is genuine. As soon as she closes the door, he pops out from under the blanket, grumbling that the cursed book hit him right in the groin. Or maybe he's just getting hit by some cheap tricks. Either way, he's determined to jump back into that dream until he finally beats her. The sun rises, and by that point, he had already tried 185 times. That's some next-level mental resilience. He dies in every single attempt, but now he's lasting 30 seconds. He gets hit with a wave of exhaustion, bumps into his tea, knocks it over, and crashes to the floor, completely drained. But finally, he had found a way to get stronger. The only problem? The pain of dying in that illusion feels very real. He thought he could game the system. At the moment he died, he could just re-enter and ignore the fear. But nope, that was impossible. And now, after a full night of effort, it's time to see the results of all that grinding. His dagger technique had reached level 2, and Shadow Step was at 11%. Sure, that was still nowhere near assassin level, but just knowing he could evolve like this was already a huge deal. He's excited to test it out, so he activates Shadow Step and dashes across the room. The guy's practically leaving smoke trails, completely hyped, until he suddenly winces in pain. Turns out his foot got scorched. Now he's wondering how that assassin girl who attacked Payman managed to use this without flinching. And then it hits him, of course. These techniques are way too advanced for someone like him, just a tier 1 fighter. Back at the academy, he learned that to handle techniques like these, you need to channel ki throughout your body to reinforce it and reduce the recoil. But that's something only level 2 warriors can do. So the plan for now is to find a proper teacher, preferably a hot one, of course. He's already daydreaming about Saint Maria from the academy. The only issue is that while he knows tons of powerful mages, he doesn't know that many strong warriors. That's because in this world, magic is so ridiculously broken that no one even bothers with martial arts. Why train punches and kicks just to eat a fireball to the face? Then it clicks. There's one warrior, probably the most powerful in the whole story. Or rather, not probably, definitely. That would be his dad. How the hell did he forget he had the final boss living in the same house? In the last 100 years, no warrior has had a greater impact on the world than him. At 15, he was already a royal guard. At 20, he crushed rebel forces. By 27, he became a marshal of the empire. At 32, he earned the title Lionheart King. He's never lost a fight. This guy is the real deal. Our boy is now thinking that Moon actually deserved the tragic ending he got. The guy had everything, a perfect life, and even a father who could have taught him everything. But he blew it. That's fine though, because from now on, he's going to ask his dad for personal training. You'd think the next line would be the dad refusing, but no. It's actually Anne knocking again, saying the master is looking for him. He walks out with her, saying it's perfect timing. He was just about to ask for the same thing. But outside, he runs into 2 more maids. One of them wears glasses and honestly might be the first thin girl in this whole story. Moon notices they call Anne the head maid now and gives her a compliment. Guess she got promoted, huh? She explains that the other one, the previous head maid, resigned right after he woke up, so she ended up taking the position. He feels like maybe she got kicked out because of him, which is a little confusing. But she tells him not to worry, that even though she won't be the head maid anymore, she's still part of the household. And that's when his mother gives him this very peculiar hug. Alright, illustrator, let's maybe tone it down a bit, yeah. She's hugging him and saying she wants him to call her mommy 1,000 times. Then she presses his head to her stomach and tells him to listen. Turns out, yep, she's pregnant, which means he's going to have a little sibling. Right then, the father walks in, telling her to take it easy. The boy just got out of bed after recovering, so maybe don't get too excited. A bit later, Moon's surprised to find out his dad is heading back to the front lines. Also, can we talk about the maid standing next to his father? She's massive. Clearly, the Duke himself was in charge of hiring all these women, and we can already tell what kind of taste this guy has. Refined, I'd say. He says that this afternoon he's returning to the front and will be gone for at least a month. During that time, Moon needs to stay in the capital. He turns to Miss Faye and says he's counting on her to look after everyone. Moon, however, tells him he shouldn't go. There are other generals in the empire, and besides, he's a duke. But his father explains that unfortunately, after nearly a decade of silence, things have gotten urgent. There are signs of abyssal demons near the borders. But Moon knows what this actually is, a distraction meant to divide human forces. The real invasion doesn't happen until 3 years from now, when Ariel finally rises as the savior. The problem is, even though his dad said a month, he'll probably be gone for 3 years, which means Moon's plan to learn swordsmanship from him is completely wrecked. A griffin and carriage arrive, and his father waves goodbye, telling his wife not to cry. He'll be back soon. He calls Moon over and says he was impressed when he risked his life to protect the Empress. That was the courage of a true knight, the kind of bravery that runs in Campbell blood. He reminds him of their family symbol. The sword represents strength, and they are the blade of the Empire. The dragon symbolizes the enemy they must defeat. In other words, they are the weapon of the entire realm. At some point, every man in the family must step onto the battlefield. He's not sure if Moon will follow that path, but that doesn't matter. What matters now is that he's become a real man. And because of that, his father promises to invest every resource he didn't have in his youth, so Moon can become even stronger. Moon just stands there, silent for a moment, and then his father says it's time to talk about something serious. He wants to know what Moon really thinks about Anne. Caught off guard, Moon says she's nice, but why bring that up? His father explains that he's watched that girl grow up. She comes from a good family, she's smart, and most importantly, she sees him as more than just her master. If Moon doesn't want to lose her, he better do something about it soon. Now Moon's standing there totally thrown off. What is his father even talking about? The Duke decides to be blunt. The family needs more heirs. His wife's only just now having their second child, and with him going back to the front lines, there won't be time to make more. Moon nervously mentions that he's technically engaged to Payman. His father brushes it off, saying that's just political. Even if they do get married in the end, she'll be the main wife and Anne can be the secondary. Then his dad's face turns serious. He delivers the final verdict. In 3 years, when he returns, Moon better have a child. That's it. That's the plan. What kind of ruthless dad throws Anne at him like that? I wouldn't want to be in that situation, honestly. That's a hard pass for me. As soon as the father leaves, Anne steps into the room and says she heard her name mentioned. She wants to know if he needs anything from her. Honestly, I thought Moon would dodge the question, but nope. He goes straight to the point and says they need to have a kid, because that's what his dad just told him to do. But he thinks it's just a joke, so she doesn't need to take it seriously. Her job is to be a maid, and in the future, they'll each go their own way. Then, out of nowhere, he starts saying she's the perfect woman and he's sure she'll find an amazing guy someday. And if she ever meets someone, all she has to do is tell him in person. He'll give her his blessing to leave. And then, with all the confidence in the world, he puts a hand on her shoulder and tells her to be brave and go find her own happiness. Meanwhile, he walks off feeling great, thinking he just pulled the perfect move. But is he actually into her? Feels like he is, doesn't it? But just as we expected, yeah, that didn't sit right with her at all. She's literally shaking with rage, whispering through clenched teeth that he really has changed. She can't wait any longer. It's going to have to be tonight. And here we are tonight. Our boy's lying there thinking how nothing is going the way he planned. He thought he'd get help from his father to get stronger, but now the guy's gone. So now he's got to figure it out solo. For the time being, he's avoiding the academy, since half the people there are close to the all-powerful protagonist, and that would only make his situation worse. He needs to master the basics first. Only after that can he head out into the world. He closes another book, grabs the dark book, and when he opens it, it's got a record of everything he read in the others. Actually, he only needs to see the cover and flip a few pages to learn the content. This little book is perfect for leveling up fast. Too bad that right at that moment, Anne walks in, acting all innocent. Watch her reading. He brushes her off and asks if she brought him something to eat. She says yes. He tells her to go easy on him, but she just responds that this is part of her duties. She brought vintage wine. Only 100 bottles are produced per year, and it costs over 200,000 coins. But he says he's not in the mood. He's still studying, doesn't want to get distracted. But the bottle's already cracking in her grip, and she asks him what he would like to drink. He says coffee to help him stay awake and focused, but she replies that they only have wine or black tea. Strange. That sounds oddly familiar. He pauses, thinking, wait, this feels familiar. She hands over the cup, apologizing, saying the coffee beans were eaten by rats, so she'll bring fresh ones tomorrow. Oh my god. This idiot doesn't even look at the cup. He drinks it, gets hit with a shock, the cup crashes to the floor, and his vision goes blurry. He starts collapsing, asking why she betrayed him. But she grabs him gently, saying she would never do that. She tells him to sleep peacefully. She says her heart is shattered. She loves him so much. So how could he say something like that? He's changed too much, and now he needs to be purified with her love. He better accept it, because they're going to be together forever, until the world ends. He opens his eyes, and where is he? You already know. Hands and feet bound to a board. The prophecy girl is standing right in front of him. This prophecy's curse, I swear. She's already taking off her uniform, saying that damn black market guy never fails. He tries to ask what she's doing, but she immediately replies he knows exactly what she's doing. Then she says that 10 years ago, when he was just 8, she stood by his side. From that moment on, her existence has been for his sake. In return, his existence is now for hers. And now she has to fix him, put him back on the right path. Moon says he has no idea what she's talking about, asks her to let him go. But she just hushes him. Don't say anything. I'll take care of everything. Tonight, head to toe, inside and out. His body, his soul. Every scent, every strand of hair, every drop of blood. All of it would belong to her. Well, at least he doesn't have to worry about impressing his dad anymore. She's definitely taking care of that. Honestly, I was expecting some kind of twist. Someone barging in, stopping the scene. But nope. Our boy wakes up the next morning, eyes all tired, looking absolutely drained. It happens so many times. Head lose consciousness, wake up in the middle of it, then pass out again and wake up once more. He just couldn't believe it. The same person who originally turned Moon into a worthless mess, and the same one who chained him up like this, was that damn Anne. He says she took him out in a single hit, and even though he was mentally prepared, it still hurt like hell. He begged her to stop with this madness, to let him out of those cuffs and give him a chance to escape. But she said not a chance. Compared to all the years she spent waiting, this pain was nothing. Dear God, all right, author, watch yourself. You're really skating the edge here. I don't even know how to comment on this madness. Still, our guy's pretending he's in agony, but in truth, he admits the sensation was amazing. Even so, he knows she's going to kill him if this keeps up. He needs to escape, fast. But man, he's locked in with steel cuffs bolted straight into the wall. And that Limitic, she just asks what he thinks he's doing. He says his wrists were hurting and he just wanted to stretch them a little. She says it's too late for that now. There's nothing she can do. She says she's going to miss him like crazy, but unfortunately, she has things to take care of around the mansion. Otherwise, people might start to suspect something. And on top of that, she's wondering if maybe it'd be better to just kill everyone in the house, since he belongs to her now. That snaps him right out of it. He panics and begs her not to do anything like that. Before she finishes getting dressed, she asks if there's any maid in this place he might be into. Hopefully, not Noelle. He tells her she's lost her mind. There's nothing going on with anyone else. She laughs, tells him to calm down, she's just teasing. As long as he behaves, she promises not to hurt anyone in the house unless she absolutely has to. He begs her to let him go. There's no way she seriously plans to keep him locked in here forever. Suddenly, the magical cuffs click open with a snap of her fingers. She just tells him not to try anything stupid. The core of this room is a sealed space, reinforced with steel from some tower no one's ever heard of. Translation? It's basically impossible to get out. He asks if no one will find it suspicious, but she says not to worry. She told everyone that after hearing his father's speech about becoming strong, Mu decided to return to the academy. So no one's going to question his disappearance for a while, and she assures him he doesn't need to worry about a thing. She'll bring him 3 meals a day like she always has. Obviously, you should trust her. She's been doing this for years. And then, wham, she lands a clean hit. The guy's writhing in pain. Honestly, this maid is way past the line now. It's hard to tell if someone out there would willingly agree to this level of insanity. She waves goodbye, he yells for her, but the door slams shut. He never could have guessed that out of everyone mentioned in the prophecy, it would be her. And every time he talks trash about the situation, the next thing he says is always how good it felt. That much, he can't deny. The problem is, he knows that if this keeps up, he's not going to survive. Even though she mentions some kind of magical sealant, he decides to try the door. He grabs the handle and pulls with all his strength, but immediately drops to the floor in agony. The entire room is made from pure steel, magically enhanced. There's no way out. Finally, the book shows up without slapping him in the face this time. Mu tells it straight. He's got no chance. This woman has as much power and potential as Payment herself. Even if he started training now, there's no way he'd get strong enough before dying. But the book just stays open. And he figures, all right, he's got nothing better to do. May as well train instead of moping around. But then wait a second. As he opens the book, he realizes the one he read last night had the equation to get through this exact situation. Next chapter, he's already knocked out 199 200 push-ups. At least his body's still holding up after the brutal night. First it was Payment, now it's Anne. What the hell is happening to this guy? He's not mad about the pain. What really gets to him is that he can't do anything. He's always the one being overpowered. But next time, he swears he's going to be the one who takes her down. That thought barely finishes forming before she shows up, smiling and saying the day's work is over. So Moon, talk is easy, now let's see you act. And here she is, already saying she feels like a wife coming home after a long day. So cute, she says, like this is all perfectly normal. She's brought him dinner and even prepped a bath at the perfect temperature. Good grief, how am I even supposed to describe this? She asks if he wants to eat, take a bath, or, well, you know. And this lying little punk, after all that talk, he's already headed straight for the bath, sinking in like he's trying to relax. But judging by the look on his face, relaxing is the last thing he's doing. He mutters that he's not a child and doesn't need help with this sort of thing. Someone, please, set this poor boy free before I get banned for reading this. She says that now that his body belongs to her, she has to take care of it. She even tests his hearing while he's mentally screaming that he absolutely cannot lose to this Eander. Dinner time rolls around and he thanks her, says the food tastes amazing, grabs the plate, and starts eating. He asks what kind of meat it is, and she casually replies it's from some rare 3-horned giant bull. She made it especially for him since it's known to enhance physical strength. He tells her never to serve him that again, but she just smirks and says he's already eaten it dozens of times. She's been feeding it to him in secret. He stands up done. He says he's tired of this. He's being kept locked away, not even allowed to see sunlight, and now she's feeding him all this weird stuff. If she doesn't let him out now, down he goes again, knocked out cold. Poor guy. What can you even do? Once again, the food was cursed. She even whispers for him to enjoy it because the night's going to be long. When he opens his eyes again, it's clear the guy's been wrecked. She apologizes for the night before, saying she got scared he wouldn't survive, so she took it easy on him this time. Yeah, this monster of a guy didn't stand a chance. He said he was going to dominate or whatever. He got crushed again. She tries to talk to him, but he completely ignores her. So she says that since he's been a good boy for 2 days straight, she'll grant him one request. He immediately asks for freedom. She says that's impossible. He asks for new clothes. She says that's also impossible. He looks at her like, what kind of wish is this if I can't ask for anything? She explains that the highest level wish he can make right now is something like choosing when he wants to eat tomorrow. And listen, on the site I'm reading this on, there are people in the comments saying the protagonist is suffering too much, and they're willing to trade places with him just to take some of the heat off the poor guy. So he sighs and admits, yeah, choosing what to eat is better than nothing. He thinks back to this time of year. He used to enjoy a specific seasonal wine and some special fish. She comments that the fish he's talking about comes from Lake Bipor, which is way far off. He plays it up, saying that he used to be a free spirit. Now he can't even decide what to eat, stuck in confinement like this. If he can't even get a little fish from Lake Bipor, then what's the point of life? She calls his name, but then says fine, she'll get it for him. Immediately, he grabs her arm and thanks her, all grateful. And this guy's throwing in hearts now. He says he's suffering, but is he really? He wishes her a great day at work and tells her he'll be waiting at home for her. She short circuits on the spot, completely flustered, and then suddenly runs in, kisses him, and he's just standing there stunned. I don't even know at this point. Is he playing 4D chess? trying to mess with the villain's head. As she's leaving, she mentions that the journey to Lake Bipor will take until tomorrow afternoon, so he better get some rest. And once she's outside, she's visibly holding herself back, muttering that she almost couldn't control herself. The young master really is the cutest thing in the world, and she can't wait to bring him that fish just to keep spoiling him more. While he's thinking that maybe, just maybe, he'll finally get a moment of peace and a full night's rest, he figures that means it's time to pull out his favorite treasure, the book. Gotta grind a little more in those simulated training spaces. It looks like he's asking to enter a simulation called the Space of 1,000 Locks, based on one of the books he read to level up his ability to break magical seals. Meanwhile, somewhere under the rain and brewing storm, someone's warning a certain girl that Lake Bipor is extremely dangerous right now. She should back off. As the person reaches to grab her hand, she activates a power and stabs him in the hand, saying no one but the young master is allowed to touch her. If he tries to stop her again, she'll feed him to the fish. The old man just grumbles that if the crazy woman wants to die, he won't stop her. But she should know. Lake Bipor's master is awake. The guild's been watching and they confirmed. It's a monarch-class creature. Anne lifts her hands and says, that explains this weird weather. The boatman mutters that she better leave him 300 coins. He's got to deal with his injured hand now. But even more than that, she shouldn't mess with the Adventurers Guild. They won't let her walk away unscathed. She's just got a bucket full of coins sitting in the ice. He asks her again, does she really want to go? She needs to understand how dangerous this is. She's not grasping what it means to make enemies out of the main Adventurers Guild. But she flatly says she doesn't care. They mean nothing to her. She's doing this for love. Then we cut to a group of adventurers gathered near the lake. One girl holding a staff is saying she can't let anything happen to Rod. After this mission, she's finally going to confess. Someone snaps at her, tells Erica to focus and stop daydreaming. She's the healer. She needs to cast now, or they won't hold out much longer. She starts channeling magic, and another adventurer yells that the creature is coming. After tanking so many special attacks, the thing is finally about to reveal itself. That's when a giant shark erupts from the lake. Obviously, it's the master of the lake. It charges up a massive water bomb. Someone screams Rod's name, and he casts a blessing of the earth to throw up a barrier. He yells for the mage to launch a spell, and she starts conjuring through her staff. Turns out she's a healer and a mage, talk about multitasking. But just before her spell lands, another explosive blast goes off. She tells Rod to charge in. He takes the opportunity, rushes the creature, and lands a direct slash to the head. The entire lake detonates with the hit. He's exhausted, but still manages to turn around and throw a thumbs up, saying, "It's done." Wow, this guy's got a powerhouse mage and a dedicated healer. That's one perfectly balanced party. The mage is standing there fixing her hair, all smiles and gratitude, while poor Erica, the healer, is just sitting there, feeling like she didn't contribute anything. Rod and the other girl, Tia, are complimenting each other, saying it's great to be adventuring side by side. Meanwhile, Erica's seeking inside. She made a promise when they were kids that she and Rod would always be a duo. She's been working hard for years, but it feels like he never sees her anymore. She was the first one by his side, and now she's just background support while he's clearly falling for someone else. Ty is still healing him when Rod suddenly calls out to Erica, telling her to snap out of it and help dissect the lake monster. But then, something feels off. They hear a strange sound. The surface of the water grows murky again, and then, boom, water blasts upward into the sky. Everyone ducks immediately. Another lake beast is rising. This one's different. This one's the real deal. Tia quickly starts casting a third-tier spell, this one huge, but it doesn't do a thing. The magic slams into the creature's neck, and nothing. The beast counters with a thunderstorm attack from its horn, lightning tears through the sky. Erica grabs Rod and pulls him out of the way, yelling for him to be careful. But he tells her to move. This monster is way beyond what they're capable of dealing with. She asks what he's going to do, and he says, "I'm going to protect Tia. I brought her into this party, it's my responsibility." Even if it meant dying, he was ready to die by her side. Yet, Erica definitely would have preferred not to hear that. Rod charges forward while, from a distance, someone's silently watching the whole mess unfold. Of course, it's Anne, curious to witness the power of a monarch-level beast firsthand. If dragons had this kind of strength, she figured she'd finally be able to get that specific part to feed the young master. But why is she always trying to feed him monster meat anyway? Once again, the boss readies another lightning strike. Rod knows it. This is the end for them. But just then, Anne casts a binding spell. A bolt of lightning crashes from the sky and slams into the creature. When Rod looks again, the beast is falling back into the lake. Even the attack it was about to unleash had been completely canceled. Someone checks on Erica, asking if she's alright. It's Anne. She tells Erica to stay out of it. She'll be the one handling this monster. And with that, she activates another restriction, and Erica realizes this woman is manipulating liquid metal. The creature starts getting pierced from every direction. And Anne, calm as ever, is forging a sword out of midair as she floats toward the beast like she's walking on air, saying the monster would pay for scaring away the fish she came all this way to catch for the young master. The price for messing with her plans was death, one clean slash. The creature is sliced clean in half and sinks back into the depths. Rod watches from the side, speechless. He can't believe a monarch-class beast was just taken out like that. Yeah, our sweet protagonist got a lot of work ahead if he ever wants to break free from that. Erica runs over, checking on Rod. He says he's fine, but Taya's not doing great. He's got a few healing potions, but they won't be enough. That's when he asks Erica to go talk to that woman. He wants her to find out if she's an adventurer, and if she'd be interested in joining their party, because anyone who can kill a monarch beast like that, well, that'd be a hell of an addition. Anne's busy down at the edge of the lake, gathering up the leftover fish. The only problem? She forgot to ask the young master which ones he actually likes. Just then, Erica walks up and tells her that the two she's holding aren't edible. One smells awful when cooked, and the other's highly toxic. She should go for the other two near the front. They're the famous edible ones from Lake Bapor. Anne, curious, asks how she knows that. Erica explains she used to live nearby. A lot of nobles like those fish, so she catch and sell them. Within 15 minutes of watching Anne prep, she already knew how to handle it and make it perfect. That's when Erica asks, "Did you come all this way to get this fish for someone you love?" Anne just answers calmly, "Yes. The person she loves wanted fish, so she came." Erica replies, "To have someone you love that much and to have them receive that love from you. They must be really lucky." Anne pauses, reflecting on how her love is received, which right now involves the guy unconscious in a dark room, and says, "Yes, he's very lucky. I'm sure we understand the depth of my love." She turns to leave, but Erica calls out to her, asking her to wait. She says it's about love. She has a problem, and she wants the opinion of a mature woman like her. Anne sets the fish down and replies that love is the kind of problem where the solution isn't always clear. But since Erica helped her figure out the fish situation, she'll try to return the favor with some advice. Erica starts with the classic line, "So, my friend, she's like someone for a really long time." But she doesn't know if this person feels the same. Her friend's kinda shy, a bit naive, and now there's another woman in the picture. And ever since, he's been treating that new girl better. So now she's thinking of giving up. Anne listens carefully, then asks how much this friend loves that guy. Erica immediately replies, "It's not me, it's my friend." But Anne cuts the act. "Enough with that. Just say it." Erica finally admits it. Yes, it's her. She's loved him since they were kids, for over 10 years. Anne looks her dead in the eye and asks, "Would you give your life for him?" And Erica says, "Not just my life. I'd do anything for him, even if the whole world stood against me." Oh boy, here we go. Another one completely off the rails. Anne just nods and says, "Well, sounds like you already have your answer then." If her love really runs that deep, there's nothing left to ask. She needs to follow the true voice in her heart and give everything she has to the one she loves. And more importantly, she should really think hard before making any choice she might regret later on. As Anne walks away, Erica's left there, deep in thought, replaying that whole follow your heart speech. But then suddenly, a strange flame ignites, not around her, but inside her. A voice whispers, asking if she's really going to give up everything. Is she really going to surrender? The voice tells her to let go of morality, of laws, of even her own life, to sacrifice it all for him, and not let anyone else take him away. Man, this world's a ticking time bomb. I remember the stuff in the Zhang Hao story where the girls were unhinged, but this is a whole other tier of crazy. Now she's trembling, muttering that she's going to lose it if someone else ends up with Rod. The voice replies, "Finally, you understand. You need to embrace your deepest desires and claim him. But there's a catch. Rod's strong. So if she wants to make sure he truly belongs to her, she'll have to break his arms, slap a collar on him, and reduce him to nothing more than a pet. Yup. The demons in this world, there's something else." Meanwhile, Rod's sitting by Tia, practically saying a prayer over her. He turns to Erica and asks if she's okay and what happened with that other woman. She says she's fine. The lady didn't do anything. She just took a little while because she ran out of mana. The only issue is that she's a maid from a noble family, so she won't be able to join their party. Rod says that's fine. What can you do? He just wanted to thank her in person. Tia agrees. If it weren't for that woman, they'd all be dead. But then Tia adds that she noticed something strange. A weird mark on Erica's chest. Erica quickly covers it up and brushes it off, saying it's nothing, probably just from the impact earlier or some kind of magical backlash. She'll get it checked out later. Rod picks Tia up in his arms and says she's right. They need to find somewhere to rest. The two of them are all soft and flirty while Erica just watches from a distance, eyes dark, something definitely not right. Next morning, our poor boy wakes up looking like a wreck, probably trained all night because of course she's already back, saying she finally returned. I'm convinced now. He's pulling the classic 3D chess move. He puts on the act, saying he missed her so much, and that he was sure if he didn't see her again, he was going to die. She strokes his face sweetly, saying it looks like he's finally ready to give her his body and soul. She apologizes. It's just that Lake Bapor was really far away, and it took longer than expected to bring back the freshest fish. But here it is, just what he asked for. And wow, she really went all out, 5 clean cuts on the fish, tossed in 3 herbs straight into the oven. The presentation is ridiculous. He's hyped, saying it smells amazing and he's already reaching out to try it. She makes the airplane sound, feeding it to him, and he thanks her, tells her she should try it too. But she shakes her head and says not this time. She made this one especially for him. She tells him to be careful though, fish have lots of bones. He scoffs, says he's not a kid, but the moment he takes a bite, something gets stuck in his throat. Immediately, she leans in and says she'll take care of it. He panics, how? And she, completely deadpan, says she'll press her lips to his, use her lung capacity to pull it out, and that'll clear his airway. He tells her she's absolutely insane. That doesn't even make sense. But life is cruel, and our boy suffers a tragic fate. Next chapter? Yeah, we jump straight into chaos. She cheerfully says the problem's solved. She pulled the bone out. He mutters a tired thank you, and just starts eating again, if only to get her to stop talking. A little while later, he finishes his plate and admits it really was excellent fish. I'll give you 25 cents if you can guess what she wants to do next. But he shuts it down, tells her not now, he needs a break. That's when she pulls out the psychological cards and asks, so, are you getting tired of me already? But our boy is slick. He says that, according to the experts, it's not good to exercise right after eating. It could be bad for the body. And if a child were conceived in that kind of state, it might not be born healthy, and the pregnancy could end up being complicated. Anne, of course, interprets all of this as him being deeply concerned about her, and she gets emotional. She says, all right then, you make a good point. I'll come back tonight to continue our little work. Before leaving though, she casually mentions that she passed through the famous city of Savit, known for its custom design outfits. He asks what that has to do with anything, and she says she bought a, well, combat outfit, something fierce and full of armor. Just by the look on his face, you already know what he's thinking. He immediately says he's not into that stuff. He's a man of integrity. But she just smiles and says, I've been around for a long time. I've seen all the magazines you have. The reason she always wears those black stockings, it was for him. And the poor guy is stunned. He always thought that was just her personal fashion choice. But he has to admit, yeah, she nailed it. He did like them. She laughs, calls him adorable, then waves goodbye and tells him to take a nap. Just like that, she's gone and he's still stuck in that room. Man, I'm seriously hoping our protagonist escapes soon. Sure, the situation doesn't look that bad from the outside, but come on. You're just gonna stay locked up in a room forever? Wait, scratch that. Spoke too soon. He's already up and activating his skill to try and unlock the door. And this kid, genius. Turns out he asked for that fish bone on purpose. He's using it like a makeshift lockpick. But the moment he starts working on it, he triggers a trap. 12 cuts across the mechanism. He falls back instantly, cursing under his breath, saying she's gotta be kidding. There's no way something this insane could be opened manually. Based on the theory from one of his books, he has to lift each of the lock pins to the exact height without breaking the fish bone to trigger the release. The catch? He only managed to hide 4 fish bones from her. And this thing requires 12 perfect attempts. It's gonna be hell. Worse still, if the bone breaks inside the lock and she finds a piece left behind, she'll know immediately. He gives it another shot and yep, snap. That's not even the first one he's broken. He's already gone through 3. It's been an hour and a half. She'll be back with his food any minute now. He calls out to the book, trying to squeeze in some last-minute study. At this point, it's too complex to brute force through it. At least he's mapped out the exact pin height for the first 10. It's just those last 2. He's got nothing to lose now. It's all or nothing. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, the 2 maids are hanging out. Erica tries a piece of the fish Anne prepared and admits it really is delicious. The creatures from Lake Bepor are no joke. Anne thanks her for the help, saying that thanks to Erica, she finished cooking a whole hour earlier than usual. Erica, though, wants to know why she's suddenly learning new recipes. After all, the young master went off to the academy, the madam is pregnant and staying at the other estate to focus on her pregnancy. Yet every time, Anne makes an extra portion of food. It's weird. Anne's hand subtly moves toward her knife, mana starting to gather. But Erica quickly blurts out, oh, I get it. You're hiding a secret pet here, right? Probably a cute little cat. She explains that the old heads of the house never allowed pets because of the fur and mess, but now that they're not around, it makes sense she'd try to sneak one in. Anne breathes out and says, you caught me. Keep it a secret. Okay. Erica says it's no problem, but she really wants to see the little guy someday. Anne smiles and says maybe one day, but not right now. He's still really shy and easily scared. As she walks away, Anne thinks to herself how glad she is that she didn't have to resort to the worst-case scenario, killing Erica and dealing with the aftermath. That conversation, however, makes her realize something else. Keeping the young master locked away in that room might start to wear on him. He could get bored or worse, fed up. Besides, she still doesn't feel anything moving in her stomach, which means the pregnancy hasn't started yet. At the very least, there will be another 10 months before that even becomes a thing. Maybe she should actually eat a pet to help the young master relax a little. A cat wouldn't be a bad choice. Or better yet, she'll just ask him directly what he wants. But then, her whole expression changes. The tray slips from her hands, food crashes to the floor. When she gets to the room, the door is wide open. Our boy, he's out. He finally escaped. Let's go. He's hiding in some rundown wing of the mansion, furniture trashed, everything dark and dusty. He stumbles and falls awkwardly, hitting the ground hard. Everything's filthy, the lighting's terrible, but whatever. Thanks to the memories of his body, he knows exactly where he is. And if there's one magic trick this useless guy does know, it's that little light orb. It's time. He needs to get out before she finds him. Just as he thinks that, clang, A knife slams into the wall next to his head. He gasps, saying it's impossible. He ran way too far to be caught already. But then he hears it. That voice. From the shadows, calm and terrifying, she says, I finally found the like on this video that helps Mamoru make more juicy content for his viewers. Activate the cheeky little bell, and I'm out.